keep looking at it. The flow out's not bad either. When people say about brush marks in water-based paint, I'd accept that. I'd accept that. Can't complain at that. Welcome chillins, Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. Throwing a curveball in at you now. Seen the thumbnail. Been doing product testing. You may even be at this video because you've seen the last video where I've been trying, well, I'll say the Holy Grail. Everybody seems to be going on about Jono's AquaGuard. But how good did you think it is? Have you tried it? How good did I think it was? Ooh, well, I'll have to watch the video back. The more views I get, the more 0.002 pence in a pound I get towards that Porsche, so please help us out. While I'm on that, I'm going to give a big shout out. I'm not mentioning the names, but those that have given me super thanks recently over the last few weeks, and even since the super thanks started, it's a button down there, give thanks. Thank you very much, it's much appreciated. I'll say that it's actually helped fund buy stuff like this. The paints, because not everybody's giving me a free sample tin, and some of these, the Jonos, these bits and pieces, I've got to pay for myself, which I don't mind because it's interesting for me and hopefully it's interesting for you. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Love you lots. You know who you are. Right, the curveball. While I was in Screwfix picking up a new sprayer to try out, have you seen that video yet? Have I done it? I'm not sure. You'll have to wait and see. Press that bell and the subscribe and the like button, you know. We've got a, you see it there? Got a new sprayer to try out. While I was in there, I thought I'll pick up one of the no-nonsense, quick, dry satin paints in brilliant white, because we've been trying paints out in white and satin and glosses. This is 20 odd quid, £22, 2.5 litres. Is it any good? Now, I think the no-nonsense stuff's pretty good. The silly foam, the expandable foam. Oh, another video for staircase filling gaps. Brilliant video. Brilliant products. The name, No Nonsense. Screwfix use this. No Nonsense. I think it's their own brand. Really good. But how good is their paint? 20 odd quid for a 2.5 litres, how good can it be? Let Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator, test it out on Doris the Door over a non-white colour. It's not black, it's not dark blue. We've been doing the darker colours. This is a greeny colour, I'll call it a greeny colour. You've seen it on the previous video there. Oh, let's bring you down. We're testing it out with the AquaGuard. Still 4 hours. What's recoat time on this? Quick drying, coverage. 12 hours. Touch dry 1 to 2 hours. Most of them are like that. This is 12-hour recoat time. So that works well with me, because while we're doing the video for bottom the AquaGuard, we can do the 2 videos together. You know about that. So 12 hours, we'll recoat this up tomorrow. Brilliant. 2-coat process all being well. Over this sort of colour, I'd expect to do 3, but let's see what it's like for 2 coats. Is it as good as the AquaGuard? Is it as good as the Screwfix that I've been trying out recently? That is brilliant stuff, but it's expensive. What about the Isomat? I do like the Isomat. I love the BedX. They're all in that playlist there for product testing. I'm going to give it a go. Got my Arrowworthy brush out. I'm going to tip this out into a paint kettle, because the whole purpose of using a paint kettle is you only need a small amount of paint when you're painting. If you tip it over, you're only losing a small amount of paint. Tip over that, it's everywhere. And back. Feels quite thick tipping it out. It's quite a pleasant smell. Yeah, there's no real smell to it. It's not a pungent smell, so let's crack on. doing the usual. I won't stop on this one. Let's just get it coated up. We'll give you the review of what it feels like after it, and then tomorrow we'll come back and we'll give it the second. While I've got my kettle out, I'm going to zoom back. You know how to work out of a kettle, don't you? Always work from one side of the kettle. Right, I'm working from one side and I wipe down on the same side. I'm not doing the slapping it from side to side. When I was at college, you're going to say, oh, he's on about college again. When I was at college, there was kids that were doing that, and they were pounced on straight away by the lecturers, saying, why are you working off two sides of the kettle? Because in effect, that's what they're doing. They're working off two sides of the kettle. You don't need to do that. Just work off one. You just pick up a small amount of paint on your bristles, tap it on the same side of the kettle, rotating your brush round, and then if you've got too much on, you wipe down on one side. That's all it needs to be. There's none of this flapping it about. Control your paint, control the amount of paint you've got on by knowing how to use your kettle. That's me moan, that's me getting on to you. I'm going to wash my brush out and see what it washes out like before I just give me thoughts on that first coat. So I'm going to wipe it back, wash my brush out, and then quick roundup on that. I don't want to say it says it all when I go and wash the brush out to give you the comments. Want to know what the brush washes out like, but that brush washed out lovely, and if anything, I'd say it actually washed out better than the AquaGuard brush that we've done on the other sample. But both washed out all right, but that one washed out, yeah, cleanly, a lot easier. Now, just a bit of warm, not hot, just warm soapy water. That's all you need. Right, let me tell you what I thought. Now, if Chris is watching, you know him, you know who I mean, Chris. I'll just give you my thoughts on what I'm looking for application of paint. He already knows because I've spoke to him on some of the Facebook forums. Right, we're professional decorators, particularly Chris and myself. We know what we're on about. I'm trying to explain this to people that's probably not worked with paints like what we have before. Right, if I say about application, it's nice to apply a paint that goes on smoothly and easily. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the best paint out of it, but if you're a newcomer to painting, or even if a professional painter and decorator, if a paint is really difficult to apply, you're probably going to think to yourself, is it really worth it? Even though the results might be fantastic, you might have second thoughts about using that paint in the future, and particularly if the paint doesn't perform, and Chris knows what I'm on about performing, if it doesn't particularly perform well. Now, this paint, my initial thought went on quite nicely. Now, it felt a bit thinner than the AquaGuard, which the AquaGuard's got plenty of body. I'm looking at it now, it's a good bodied paint. Now, the no nonsense quick drying hasn't got that body, the opacity, the coverage. The body is like how thick the paint feels for bodying up. If you want to body something up, you pack it out, don't you? Now, this went up. Literally, you've seen me paint that door, go in, come back out with a brush that's cleaned out. That is nearly dry. It's quick dry. Now, What we've gone over is Helmy undercoat. I didn't nib it down because I didn't need to, because we'd done that previously. I've done a Helmy undercoat. It pulled slightly to the point that I thought, is it the surface I'm going over because it's a drier Helmy undercoat finish, or is it the fact that that is drying off quite quickly because it's quick dry and it's not allowing me to have open time? And when I mean open time, the time it allows me to work the paint. If you've got an oil-based paint, you've probably got a little bit more open time to feather out your brush marks. You don't play with it, you don't go back to something you've already done, but open time wise, it was drying quick. When I'm trying to feather out these rails at the top with the stiles to lay them off, it was already nearly gone off on me. Now, is that because of the paint or the surface I was going over? I'm not sure, hence why I went in to see whether the brush washed out easily, because if it didn't wash out easily, I was wondering how much of a hybrid paint it was. The way the brush washed out, I don't think it is a hybrid, because it washed out plain and simple, dead easy. But my thoughts on this is, it's gone on all right. Where you might catch your bristles on these mouldings of Doris the Door, it pulls it slightly off or leaves it flashing. A bit like on there. I won't say too much until I've got a second coat on. And I know this will probably need a third, and I might even do a section of doing it 3 coats. I'll see. But I'll see what it's like for that second coat, whether the application goes on. I don't want to use the word easy because it's not a hard paint to put on. Let's see how it covers over itself and how it feels over itself. That might be the easiest way to say it. But other than that, for 20 odd quid for a 2.5 litre tin of paint, if you're doing a house rental and you're just needing some quick cheap paint to freshen everything up, that doesn't look a bad white. It'd go on easy, and let's face it, doing a door isn't the easiest thing to do. So what would it look like? I don't know. Let's give it till tomorrow. I'll be back. That was a nice blend. Back into the next day. It says 12 hours recoat time. I think probably more at 24. Couldn't get out this morning. We had a bit of a rain downpour. Not to worry. Let's see what we're like on the second coat. Now, you may have or may not have watched the video about the Jono's AquaGuard. Now, that's what everybody's been talking about, AquaGuard. If you want to watch that review, see what you think of the AquaGuard. It's over in that corner there. See what you think. See what my review's like. We're pitting this Screwfix paint against AquaGuard in effect because it's on the same Doris the Door. I'm under no illusions that this paint, 2.5 litres for 21-ish quid, is going to take 3 coats. I'm not too worried. Value for money wise, if we need to do a third coat, I probably will give it a third coat to see what it's like. But as a DIYer, this test is this paint any good? We're asking a lot, aren't we, covering over that other colour? You know we are. Let's bang it on. Yesterday's paint, I didn't think it was too bad really, did I? It went on alright. I'll see what today's like going over its same product. Let's get a little bit of cheesy music on and let me paint away. Paint away. Do you know what? I'm going to pass judgment on that. When I've gone and washed the brush out, I'm going to have a bite to eat, I'm going to have a sandwich, and then I'm going to come back. First impressions, going on itself, that went on lovely. Really, really nice, creamy flow. It's not feeling too thick. It's going on nicely. If you're an amateur or a home DIYer, putting that paint on as the application process, I'd actually say goes on lovely. Yesterday I was a bit like that. Didn't think it was too good, drying off a little bit too quick. Where I've had to feather back in the edges where you do I think the fur off this microphone's gone in my eye. Never mind. The blending, I'm trying to get it as layman terms, make it simple. The blending between the brush strokes, between your mullion rails and your styles and your middle rails, your lock rails, latch rails, the feathering back and brushing out, it's actually brushed nicely. Yesterday I was a bit dubious because it was drying quickly on me and I didn't feel it was giving me enough open time. And that's the correct terminology, the open time. It's the time you're allowed to work with the paint that you've got, right? The open time. It's allowed me to work that. It's not drying off too quick on me. And coverage, as I say, I'm not under any illusions, that's not going to cover for 2 coats. We know that. A lot of the paints have been testing, and if you're product reviewing, want to look at the product, you've seen the videos there. That's not bad. Let me have my sandwich, let me wash the brush out, and let's see what it's like when it goes off. I've found these paints, even though they've been 4, 5, 6 hours recoat time, 12 hours recoat time, touch dry within half an hour to an hour, you can actually probably touch dry and get a good you can have a good look at the paint and see what it's actually drying like over the surface. It might be dry, but it's not actually suitable to put another coat on, and you'll know that because if you do try and rush these sorts of paints that are quick drying, supposedly quick drying, you go over it and the word is it pulls. You're fighting with it to get it on. That's why you're best to leave it as long as you possibly can. Well, not too long, but you know what I mean. Time is money. So let's go and get that sandwich, wash that brush out. And yesterday I did find the brush washed out fine, so good, that's good. It's a nice water-based paint. See you in a bit. See you in a bit. Had my dinner and I'm back. I'm looking at this door. Do you know what? I've got to be honest. That 2.5 litre tin cost me, got the receipt in my pocket, £21.99. I had to pay for it. Not being sponsored by anybody. If anybody wants to sponsor me, particularly Porsche, please reach out. But there's my receipt, and if you can focus in on that, £21.99 for the no-nonsense water-based. Oh God, it's got the word trim on it. Oh, flipping out. 2.5 litres of satin. £21.99 it cost me. I'm quite impressed. I know it's not covered fully. I wouldn't expect it to cover fully over that colour that we went over. It's a good white. I'm just comparing it to the, I can bring you down, the AquaGuard that's underneath. I would say it's as good a white as the AquaGuard, if not a little bit better. That coverage isn't there that the AquaGuard's got. The AquaGuard had got a little bit more body to it, so when the opacity coverage, it's not quite as good. But what do we expect? That AquaGuard cost me about 21 quid for a litre. So value for money wise, we're getting over twice as much for the same amount of money as AquaGuard. Could I afford to give that another coat and give it another try? Yeah, yes. I would say we'd expect 3 coats. But for now we're doing the 2-coat process because it's self-undercoating, satins, eggshells, you know about that. But what does it look like? It's nearly gone off. Look, back of your hand, always when you're touching paint, don't use your fingers. Look with your eyes, not your fingers, right? Just back of your hand gently. It's nearly gone off. So touch dry, it's less than an hour. I can see a bit of grinning on the panelling. You probably can't see it on the camera. Little bit of grinning. The flow was nice. I've got no flashing where I've joined up between the rails, and even down the sides where I've got a little bit of an overlap where the sides overlap into that moulding. There's no flashing. On the whole, that's a pretty good paint, and value for money wise, I'm going to put it out there. Is this the best budget value for money paint on the market? Because we've got 2.5 litres for £22. Work that out as how much that's costing you a litre. It's cheap, isn't it? That is cheap. Is it as good as the AquaGuard? The AquaGuard's virtually nearly covered for 2 coats. That's going to need a 3. But even the AquaGuard's going to need a 3, because to get perfect coverage, that's going to need a 3. How does it compare against big spot of rain? Ooh, it's 1 spot of rain. How does it compare against the other paints I've tested? Product testings over that shoulder. It's up there. It's not a bad paint. I'm not going to give up on this one, because I think I'd like to try this. Give us some comments on it. I'd like to try this. I'm going to call it a budget paint. I'm going to try this budget paint through that 40 quid budget sprayer, which is also from Screwfix, because there's people out there that ask me, I don't want to spend a fortune on a sprayer, I don't want to spend a fortune on paint, how can I get around it? 40 quid HVLP sprayer works great. If there's a paint for £22 that's 2.5 litres that sprays fine, and with you spraying it, we'll probably get the better opacity stroke coverage over the surface, we might have a winning combo. Main professional decorators will probably say, no, I don't want to use it, but I think there's people out there that will go, budget wise, £22 for 2.5 litres is great. And I don't think that's bad at all. I wouldn't expect it for covering for 2. Will it cover for 3? I'll give that a go in a later video. And I'd also like to try it over some of the other whites that I've done. You've probably seen the gloss and the heritage and bits and pieces on the other side of Doris the Door. I might even give those a nib down and give a coat or 2 of this over them to see what this actually covers like if you were going over a white. And if you've seen those other videos, I'll say a white, off-white. Right, let's wind it up. You might see some videos just there. I'll say thank you for listening to me. It's not a bad paint. We won't dismiss it. We know it's probably not as good as what we're wanting with other paints. Some more videos there, But for £22, can't knock it. I'll put my neck on the line on this one. With paint, the more you pay, the better. Food for thought, comments. See you on the next one. Thanks for listening.